So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the blue zones. We're going to be talking something specifically called the life radius and how to optimize that in order to give yourself the best chance for living a long, healthy life. All right, everybody, we are back with a brand new Cabral concept. This is our longevity, high-performance, health-based show of the week. Love being able to bring you one of these shows most weeks of the month that go over all of the different things that you should be keeping an eye on as you're looking to improve your anti-aging, longevity, and what I call high-performance health. So one of the things that I want to get to, and I'll be getting to this another week or two, a lot of people right now, there's a lot of contention around the blue zones. Anything that gets popular, people always like to, try to take down, smear, whatever it might be. And what I want to share with people is this, is that it's not always that popular, because what's popular right now is consuming a lot of protein, transforming your body, putting on a lot of muscle. I totally get it. I understand. I'm not necessarily against that. Like, I get it. I understand. Like, people want to improve the overall physique, and eating more protein, like a gram per pound of body weight, is certainly going to get you there. Like, it's going to help much more than really any other type of diet. So I get that. But that does not mean that it's going to lead to the best longevity outcomes. And most true longevity scientists, which means they've dedicated their life to the study of longevity, I have not found one that believes in eating a high protein diet out of all your macronutrients. There are some that say a little bit higher fat, lower protein, moderate carb. There are some that say higher carb, lower fat, lower protein. There are some that say moderate carb, moderate fat, lower protein. And almost none that say high protein, high animal protein in the diet. They don't. Now, I can tell you, high animal protein, okay, high protein in the diet, best for body transformation. There's just no doubt about that. That's real. As someone that's worked in the health and fitness-based industry for 25 years, really difficult to push against that. But in the longevity space, it's not the same. So what the problem is this, and I don't want to turn that into this show, okay? So I don't want to. I'll talk about that on another show. But the difference is, you don't need to go fully vegan if you don't choose to, nor be fully super high protein diet. There is somewhere in the middle, right? And I think that's what we're missing. I think as health experts, and I think that as health providers, we want to share with people, yes, it's okay to achieve your body transformation goals, but let's also be looking towards the future as well. Like, just don't go all in on body transformation just because you're in your 30s and 40s or maybe early 50s, and not think about trying to live to 80, 90, 100 years old. Right? And a lot of people, again, I always go on a rant. I feel bad about doing this, but they say, well, there's not a lot of research with high protein and early mortality before the age of 50. Yeah, that's absolutely true, because almost nobody dies before the age of 50. Fortunately, we're in that state, at least in the Western-based world. Some people do. They die from cancer. Some people genetic heart-based issues. Yes, that is absolutely true. But no, most people don't die until their later 50s through their 80s, right? And we have a curve, and it's more slanted towards their 70s, 74 to 77 years old. So we need to be careful with that type of there's so many health practitioners who teach what they like to do in their life, right? And I think that's dangerous. I really think it's dangerous. I think what we need to teach, we can say, this is what I do. However, looking at an unbiased research perspective, which is what I try to do, yes, this is what's best for body transformation, but it's not what's best for longevity. Okay, so when all that came out of the blue zones, that's it. So for the blue zones, though, I like to share is, yes, there is a lot of truth to the blue zones. Now, is some of it anecdotal? Yes, there's no doubt about it. Do we necessarily think that having a glass of wine, one at 5 every night, is what helps you to live to 100 years old? No. There's a lot of research that shows that people are living to 90s and 100 despite consuming a glass or 2 of alcohol each night, right? Like, despite that, because in all ways, shapes, and forms, it looks like alcohol is much more prevalent to causing diabetes, blood sugar issues, heart disease, etc. Now, if it helps people unwind and they're doing it early in the night, maybe a little bit different story. But most people in the Western-based world, They might have a couple of drinks. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. If they track their sleep, it absolutely does affect their sleep and certainly not good for their overall health. All right. Now let's actually get to what I wanted to state, which is in some of the blue zone studies, there's something called the life radius. And the life radius is interesting. And it's not usually talked about, which is why I wanted to bring it up on today's show. So I've talked about the Power 9 before. I really go in depth. High performance health is not just about the blue zones, of course, but I use a lot of these in outlook in life, reducing stress, nutrition, activity, yes, all of those things. Now, I think there's more that you can do. I don't think they prize weightlifting enough in the blue zones just because they don't do it, but it doesn't mean it can't be really helpful for preventing falling and breaking your hip when you're older. Like these things are really important, right? So anyway, one thing that they do talk about, and this is actually in PubMed, is called life radius, principles and actions, and I'll link up the research for you. All right, here we go. So I'm going to quote the research and then I'm going to actually bring it to you. So Americans spend more than $100 billion annually on diets and exercise programs, health club memberships, et cetera, et cetera. All right. But proper nutrition and exercise are good. This approach leads to short-term success and long-term failures. Interventions need to last decades or a lifetime in order to affect life expectancy and lower rates of chronic disease. Within 3 months of starting a diet, about 10% of people will quit. Within 7 months, only about 10% of people will remain on a diet. And by 2 years, less than 5% will be adhering to the diet. Exercise programs show a similar pattern. Many people start exercise programs after the end of the year holidays and have quit by autumn. Adherence to daily medication regimens also drops over time. All right, here's the next part. So with additional funding, Dan Buettner set out to identify populations that were unhealthy and able to improve their overall health. And what I'm going to do is share further research as to how they took the blue zones and actually brought it to specific cities in the United States and showed case studies of people implementing blue zone based lifestyle and improving their overall life expectancy. And basically, most of this is zero cost, right? It's just trading for this. I'm going to do this instead. So I'm going to do a separate podcast on that. But one thing they found was something called the life radius approach to optimizing the living environment. And I'm going to paraphrase now. So what they looked at was, what are you most exposed to in your daily life that would enable you to live a longer, healthier life? So this is the exact line. The environment where people spend 80% of their lives. This is the best investment for optimizing that environment for overall healthy health span, which is the amount of healthy years you have in your life, as well as lifespan, which is how long you live. So the life radius is, where do you spend 80% of your time? Let's break that down for a moment. So let's say that you are, now I know you're at home, right? You're at home, you're in bed, right? Typically for, let's say, 8 hours or so a night. Okay. So we've got in bed for 8 hours. Now, I also say you're probably, maybe if you have an office job, you're at your job for 8 hours. All right. So we've got 8 hours at your job. We've got 8 hours at home. And then when you aren't at work, where else are you? Well, you might be in the car for a half hour or so, 1 hour each way. Okay, that's not really part of the 80%. But you're also maybe getting ready in the morning at your home. And then you're having dinner and unwinding at night in your home. Okay, so let's say that maybe 8 plus 6, so let's say 14 hours are spent in your home. And then maybe 8 hours out of your home, let's say at work. All right, so we've got a little bit of a split here, but for many other people, it's basically your home. And especially all the people working virtually now, a lot of stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads, you're working mainly from home, right? So home is really what we need to optimize. But a lot of people are optimizing for all sorts of other things that aren't necessarily where they spend 80% of their time. And so when we look at that, we say, okay, well, if I break down that 80% even more, I can say, well, out of my 14 or so hours, excuse me, half of that is spent in the bedroom. So now you want to optimize your sleeping-based environment and sleep overall. That means doing the things that are going to net you the 90 minutes of deep sleep per night and the 2 hours of REM sleep per night. So not just 8 hours now, but actually the best quality of sleep. And are you getting that? And I would say, again, if you're drinking alcohol before bed or eating too close to bed, you're not. So you can track your sleep scores with an Oura Ring. That's my choice right now. A Whoop strap. You can do it with an Apple Watch. It's certainly getting better. And then other things as well, like the BioStrap, the Garmin's decent. There are other modalities as well. Fitbit's in it, Withings is in it. But really, I think the two best are probably the Oura Ring and the Whoop strap for sleep tracking. So what I want to share with you is this, is that you want to optimize your sleep, but you also want to optimize the environment that you're sleeping in. So you want to get an air filter for your room and remove any of those Wi-Fi based devices. If you have to have your phone in your room for an alarm clock, which I don't believe that you do, but if you have to, put it on airplane mode. And so that will take off that Wi-Fi. But ideally, you have a battery powered or plug-in alarm clock that does not have Wi-Fi. So your bedroom's Wi-Fi free. You have nice bamboo sheets or organic cotton sheets, something that's very easy to breathe. A non-toxic mattress. Again, you have your air filter, and if you have light coming in your room, get blackout drapes or shades, or wear an eye mask. All of these I have as resources from all sorts of great companies at stephencabral.com/resources. Okay, so I've lots of podcasts as well on setting up the ideal sleep environment and bedroom. I have a whole bunch of podcasts just on sleep. I will link those up for you today at stephencabral.com/2918. Today at stephencabral.com/2918. But now let's take it a little bit further. We want to look at that environment for toxicities as well. Meaning, do you have mold in your home? We need to get that fixed, right? Do you have smoke in your home? Previous smokers or someone that smokes in your home as well. Not ideal. Again, so what Dan's talking about, Dan Buettner is talking about is nothing matters just for a couple weeks necessarily or months. But what matters is over a lifetime, over years. So it's highly detrimental if a roommate of yours is smoking. They need to smoke outside, right? It's super important. Another big one is just make sure your house is mold free, that you don't have any water damage. And if you're renting, I know it's challenging, but mold is something that a landlord must fix. Absolutely, it's a health hazard. Okay. Outside in your lawn, look at your lawn care service. Are they using pesticides? Can't do that, right? You have to use natural alternatives. If you are using a tick or mosquito spray company, you want to make sure that they're using non-toxic ingredients. At our house in Maine, there can be ticks, lots of mosquitoes. It's in more of the wooded area. So what do? We use natural essential oil-based products that, do they work as well as the synthetic chemicals? No. Do they still work really well? Yes. And are they non-toxic? Yes. You don't necessarily want to breathe in essential oils while they're out there spraying, of course, but you let those then sit on the plants. It keeps those ticks and mosquitoes away. You just have to do it every 3 to 4 weeks or so. All right. So we want to look at our internal environment, our external environment. The last one I want to go to is, have you set your environment up, not just for sleep, not just for clean air, but also the clean water, food, and movement? Do you live in an area that you can just walk outside and get your steps in? If that's not possible, can you get something like a walking pad, which is an easy foldable treadmill that you can just keep under a desk or literally anywhere, under a bed? And you can check out a podcast I have on that as well. And then in terms of food, can you get good quality food in your area? Are there local farmers markets where you can get a little bit less expensively? Or do you have the ability to have food delivered? Or can you easily go out and access good, clean food, right, from the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15? And then the big one that I love to share with people is, you need clean air, you need clean food, but you also need clean water. So do you have a water purifier in your house that you can rely on, that you're able to use to pull out all of the chemicals from the water? Because yes, you can get a clean bill of health from your water company, but they literally test for a couple hundred chemicals. There are thousands, tens of thousands of chemicals that can be in your water that are not tested for. There are typically pharmaceuticals found in water. And you don't want to end up as the next city with poor drinking water for you or your children. Super important that we look at clean water. Again, I have my best resources, my favorite resources at stephencabral.com/resources. These are the ones that we use for my family as well. The bottom line is this: the most important things that you do in life for overall health and longevity are really the easiest to be able to keep up with month over month and year after year. So if you have to go to the gym, if you have to always go out to eat, all of these things, it's just more difficult to maintain. So your life radius is all about setting up your home or the environment where you spend the majority of your time so that you can carry out easy to implement actions with food, sleep, stress, non-toxic, etc. That's what's going to enable you to live a long, healthy life over the aggregates, over the sum of your entire life. Hopefully this was helpful. Of course, I would love to hear your comments below. Feel free to leave those right below, and do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the day. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.